Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I am excited. I am thrilled to have you here. I'm a little bit low energy today. If you've been following along on social media, you know we just put down our dog yesterday, and I loved her a whole lot. So I'm feeling a little bit down in the dumps, but I'm really grateful for the time that I've had with her, and grateful for the intense feelings of sadness that I'm experiencing right now, because they are the result of all the love that I was able to experience with her over the years. So really grateful for that. But I want to make this valuable for you today. Despite the sadness, we're going to persevere, we're going to push through, and we're going to try and give you something here today that will help you grow your business. See, last week I was in Cancun. I was talking to 2025 top tier capital raisers. These are people who run private equity funds, and they got together in Cancun to mastermind and to learn how they can grow their businesses. And so I talked about a couple different things. I did a breakout session, talked about how to tell your origin story better as a business, as an entrepreneur, because people connect with your story more so than they connect with your product, right? It's the story behind the product. And that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. But the main reason I was there was to talk to everybody about how to leverage LinkedIn to grow your brand and grow your businesses. And so I laid out what I referred to as the LinkedIn domination triangle, because you always got to have a snazzy name, right? And we got really into the weeds of the tactics of LinkedIn. And towards the end, the whole purpose of LinkedIn is to establish credibility, overcome obscurity, and create a connection. But the ultimate end state isn't just to get a lot of likes and a lot of views on our posts, right? The goal is actually to connect with humans and then engage with them in a way that maybe they want to do business with us. And it's that last part of the equation that we unexpectedly got into the weeds on it. So we're nearing the end of the presentation. I said, hey guys, are you interested in what we do next on the strategy call, the sales call? Would you like to know our 7-figure sales script? Because we follow a very regimented process, and everybody got really excited. So I look over at the event coordinators and I'm like, is it cool if I keep going? They're like, yeah, keep going. And so we end up going twice as long in this presentation as we had initially intended, because we went off on this tangent that people found highly valuable. And I want to bring it to you guys because this is a very powerful script that you can follow regardless of whatever it is that you're selling. If it's a product, it's a service, doesn't matter. I've used this in all sorts of formats in my different businesses to different degrees. And the important thing here is that professionals always follow the script. When it comes to sales, you always follow the script. And if you don't, that's the surefire sign of an amateur. If you can't systematize what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, when you're going to say it, then you can't pass that on to your salespeople. You can't train on it. And sales is a bit science, a bit art, but in my experience, the businesses that struggle the most haven't refined the science side, and they're just leaving it up to the gift of gab and hoping that the salesperson can just kind of talk the prospect into buying. And that is not a consistent way to drive results. And so I want to share with you this 9-step framework. I can't remember where I learned this. This was years ago. I learned this from a mentor. When I decided, hey, I want to get better at sales, this was back in probably like 2018, 2019, maybe 2017, actually, a little bit earlier. And I worked with this guy, and he laid out this framework. And I was like, this is great. And I've been using a version of it ever since. And then very recently, I saw pretty much the same script, but just laid out in a different visual format that I was like, oh, that's an even better way to visualize this. Well done to that guy. And so I want to share this with you. I can't share the visuals because this is a podcast, and I can't share my screen right now. But this is one of those things that we go really deep on in the Beyond the Apex community. This and a whole lot else. But today I just want to lay out the 9 steps. So number 1, the very first thing that you do when you get onto a sales or strategy call is you need to set the frame. You need to set the frame and set the agenda for what it is that you're going to be covering over the next period of time. Now, a lot of times when your prospect comes in, they're going to have a lot of questions, and they're going to want to hijack the conversation. They're going to want to get right to the questions that they have, and they're going to be asking you generally like, hey, what's the product and how much does it cost? The number one thing that you walk away from here is that you always hold the frame, and you don't answer the questions outside of the order in which you're comfortable in answering them. And the price conversation needs to be pushed until the very end for a number of reasons. Now, a lot of times when a prospect comes in and they're asking about the price, they're like, just give me a price, like give me a range. Are we talking $1,000 or $10,000, $100,000? And they really want to anchor it down to a number, because then they think, okay, if it's 100,000, that's too much, despite the fact that they have no idea what the actual package of the product or the service is and how much value it could add, right? And we don't want somebody who already has a predetermined number in their head where it's like, above that, I can't afford it. Because if I said to you, if you give me $10,000, then tomorrow I will give you $1 million. Do you think you could come up with $10,000? Absolutely. If I said, give me $100,000 today, and I guarantee 100% certainty, and if you knew 100% certainty that I was going to give you $1 million tomorrow, could you come up with that 100,000? Probably, right? Because you had this surefire guaranteed $1 million on the back end of it. You would find a way to come up with that money. So that's where we're at in this first set part of the sales script, is setting the frame, setting the agenda to make sure that we're in control. And the most powerful frame that you can have here is the doctor frame. The doctor frame is powerful because as a patient, you go into the doctor and you don't sit down there in your gown and you start asking like, hey, what's the medication? How much is this going to cost? And all that stuff, right? Because they're like, you can't just go and ask them, hey, prescribe me the drug, because the doctor is sitting there like, hey, I don't even know what's wrong with you yet. Right? We need to diagnose the problem, and then we can lay out a course of action, and then we can discuss cost. And that's the frame that you want to have here. As the doctor, you're trying to diagnose the problem. And so when people are pushing you really hard, often they will, for prices, you need to just say, listen, I don't know what the price is because I don't know what the problem is yet. I have a number of ways that I might be able to help you, but it would be kind of like you come in with a pain in your foot and I just chop it off without having done any diagnostics, right? We want to make sure that's not just a sprain, that there isn't another easier way of solving the problem. And it might be that I can't even solve your problem because I'm a foot doctor. So if you come in and you have shoulder pains, we're going to figure that out pretty quickly that I can't serve you. So if you're cool with it, let's stick to the plan. And the plan that I have here, I have an agenda. I have a framework that I like to go through with people to help quickly diagnose what's the problem you're facing, and then whether or not that's something that we can actually solve. And if you just, let me go through the agenda here, I promise we're going to diagnose it really quickly. And then if I can help you, I will lay out exactly how we can do that. And we can talk price then. Does that sound good? Right? So we're setting the agenda, we're setting the frame, and we're taking control. And a lot of times, actually in 99% of cases, when you say that, people will go, okay, cool. And if they don't, well, they've automatically disqualified themselves, and you need to just push them out of the funnel and just say, I can't serve you, right? It's more important to hold the frame. Next is we're going to go, and this is all part of the first three sections of this script is all about qualifying the lead, making sure that there's somebody that we can actually help, because we want to make sure that we're only bringing people in that we can actually genuinely serve. And if we can't, we want to exit them out of this call as quickly as possible so we can reclaim our time. So the second question that we're going to ask is around the customer, around what they do in particular. So what we want to know is, what do you do? How do you do it? What do you do? Who do you serve? And how do you do it? Right? So we want to understand their business model, or the problems that they're out there in the world trying to solve, right? And you're going to need to adapt this given your situation. So for instance, if I'm working with an investor and they're coming in, they want to potentially invest with us. What I'm trying to understand is like where they're at in their job, what they do for a living, how they invest currently. I want to know all of that stuff so I can start to figure out, okay, is this person in the right income bracket? Are they the right level of sophistication for our investments? So we're trying to get closer to understanding who they are, what they do, and if whether or not we can actually serve them. Now, the third step in this qualify section is the decision. I want to know two things in particular. Why me? Why now? So what brings you in? Why did you come here to seek us out? Why? Like, did you see a piece of content? What is it, right? And a lot of times people will have been following you, they'll have seen some content in the past, and like, I got a lot of value from you. You said some things that were really interesting, and so I wanted to come. Sometimes it could be the result of your outbound efforts, right? So if you're sliding into people's DMs, they might not have a clue who you are, and so they might just be like, I don't know, you reached out to me. I don't know. And that's helpful information for you to understand where you are framed in the conversation, right? If they're coming in with a high degree of information about you already, then you don't need to be overly pitching yourself. If they have no clue who you are, then at some point you're going to need to fill in the gaps for them. The other part of this is why now? Why is this a problem that you feel compelled to solve now? Why didn't you do it 6 months ago, 12 months ago? Why now? Why is this the moment? Or is this a thing that you're actually not committed to making the decision right now? You're just still collecting information. And both of those can be very valuable for you in terms of how you proceed with the conversation. Because if they're really not ready to make the conversation or the decision right now, and they're just collecting information and they think maybe in a year, 2 years, I want to do this, you need to get off that call as quickly as possible because it's just a bad use of your time. Okay, so the next step, the next 3 steps in the sales script that we're going to follow is all about stretching the gap, the pain of where the person is currently versus where they want to be. And so this is what we call the 3 R's. First is we ask them, what are the results that you're looking for? Where do you see yourself in the future? Where would you like to be? How much are you making? How much time are you spending? Who are you spending your time with? Like, what is the end state that you're hoping for when you come here? What is that? So if you go to the doctor, you're like, I'd like to have no pain. I'd like to be able to pick up my kids. I'd like to be able to throw a baseball on the softball team, right? We're trying to forward cast to where they want to be, their ideal outcome. The next R is then to work back to their current reality. So first we set the results and then we come back to the reality. Okay, you want to have a shoulder that works, pick up your kids, throw the baseball. Where are you currently? Where are you at right now? And if this is, maybe you have a monetary product, like you're helping people make more money. It's like, okay, you want to be making $1 million a year. Where are you at right now? Oh, you're only making $60,000 a year. Okay. How many people are on your team? How does that feel? How many hours a day are you spending on this stuff, right? We're trying to get as clear about where their reality is now and how it's falling short of their desired results or end state. The more we can stretch that gap, the more pain we can make them feel, the more antagonized they're going to feel to make to take a step that is going to move them towards a solution. And that's what we want. We want them to feel an emotional pull towards the solution. Now, the third R in this process is the roadblocks. What's standing in your way right now? Why, you have this dream of the future. You're here right now. What's in the way? Why can't you do this? So it's like, oh, I just don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the support. I don't have whatever. And we're trying to get 5 to 7 different roadblocks that this person can articulate to us, because those roadblocks are going to come up in the future. So let's put a pin in this. But we want to keep diving in and keep asking the question, what else? What else? What else? Now, for a lot of badasses, they often don't think about roadblocks. They're like, oh, nothing's really in my way. I can do this. And for that, you need to really help them understand that if there were no roadblocks between where they are and where they wish to be, they would already be there. Right? So there is something between them. So what is that thing? And get as many of those as possible, because those become the words that you use to then sell them on your product a little in the next phase. So the next phase, we moved from the qualify phase to expanding the gap phase. Now we're in the solution phase. The solution phase starts with you talking about your model, your framework, your system, whatever the product is, your methodology for solving the problems that this type of person is coming in with. Now, once we lay out that model, that framework, we move straight to the offer. And the offer is now where we list the price. But more so, let's put the price aside for a second, because in the offer, what we're doing is we're taking the things that they've articulated to us as the roadblocks, the things that are standing in their way of stopping them from going from the reality to the results that they desire. We're reflecting those words back to them. So if they're saying they don't have the accountability, then in our offer, it's a, hey, if you're trying to lose weight and one of the problems is, your nutrition, your exercise, but then it's the accountability, right? And that is the thing that we spend the most time on, because we know at the end of the day, if you go and do this on your own, your chances of failing are very high. But if you have somebody looking over your shoulder and supporting you along the way, you're going to find success. And so we really emphasize accountability. And we're going to hook you up with a one-on-one coach. They're going to do daily check-ins with you to make sure that you're staying on path. So if they said accountability is one of their roadblocks, then we are going to emphasize that as one of the selling points in the offer, right? Now, at this point, this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is where a lot of sales people fail. The very last step in this process is to actually make the offer, to actually try to go for the close and say, so you ready to move, or what do you think we should do now? Are you ready to move forward? By putting it to them very clearly and making them make a decision, you will uncover the objections that they might still have, and it gives you an opportunity to go deeper and overcome those objections and serve them. Or they might just be ready to buy right there. But the problem for a lot of people is we drop all this massive value and then we say, cool, so let me know if this sounds like a good fit, and we'd love to work with you. And then they let the person off the call without actually asking for the sale. And you would increase your sales conversions by a solid 15%, 20% simply by asking. Maybe even more, actually. Maybe let's say 50%. A lot of the times we get people in this state where they're ready to buy. They have all the information, everything is aligned, but then we let them off the call. They go and they cool off. Things get in the way. Life gets busy, and that's just how it goes. And then they, one thing turns into another. They stop answering your calls. They stop returning the emails, and you've let that lead go. So you have to ask for the sale. You have to ask them point blank to move forward into the next stage. And then you want to close that immediately. You want to be able to give them the payment link right there on the call. You want to get them enrolled into the program or the product right there in that moment, so that there is no lag between when they're the most primed to purchase versus when they actually do the purchasing. So that is the 9-step 7-figure sales script. If you are interested in going deeper into this and you would like some one-on-one coaching and feedback on your sales process, that is what Beyond the Apex Accelerator program is all about. We help entrepreneurs who are doing 5, 6 figure, 7-figure. We have a bunch of 7-figure entrepreneurs in there actually, who are looking to make the jump to 8 figures and beyond. If that's you, then go to beyondtheapex.com and apply for the accelerator. If it's a good fit, we'll be in touch. We'd love to work with you and help you make that jump to the next level. But the whole goal of this isn't just about the money. Like, the money is one thing, but the real goal of this for me is to help entrepreneurs to maximize their return on life. And so if you could do me a favor, if you got any value from this today, could you just take a screenshot and then share it on Instagram, tag me in it. I'm the Anthony Vicino, or Twitter, on LinkedIn, I'm Anthony Vicino. Just share it with me, share it with your community, that people you think might get some value from this. It would mean the world to me, as it helps spread the word of this podcast, helps it get out there and help more entrepreneurs. And that's the reason that we do this at the end of the day. So that's going to do it for me, guys and gals. I appreciate you. Hope you got a little bit of value out of this. If not, then I'll try again tomorrow. But until then, stay hyper-focused, my friends.